حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا إنه من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد أيها الأخوة المسلمون إني أوصيكم ونفسي المذنبة تقوى الله عز وجل وأذكركم مراقبته في السراء والضراء في السر والعلانية واعلموا أن الله سبحانه وتعالى قد قال في كتابه العزيز واتقوا يوما ترجعون فيه إلى الله ثم توفى كل نفس ما كسبت وهم لا يظلمون. Brothers and sisters, praises belong to Allah. We praise Him and ask Him for guidance and forgiveness. I bear witness that there is no other deity but Allah and no associate with Him. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His messenger and prophet, peace be upon him. Brothers and sisters, I advise myself and you to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watches you in any action you are taking, whether it was in public or secretly. And to remember, He is watching you and He is with you all the time. Dear brothers and sisters, قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه العزيز واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا. And hold firmly to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all together and do not become divided. And remember the favor of Allah upon you when you were enemies and He brought your hearts together and you became by His favor brothers. The number one rule that any nation should abide by in order for this nation to continue its prosperity, in order for it to continue its existence, is unity. A very important value that any nation, if this value is taken away from it, that's it, the nation is done. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in each human being, whether this human, whether he is Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist, whether he's Arab, whether he is African, whether he's European, from any ethnicity, any religion, whatever he worships, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always planted something inside of the human being that can be shared as a common interest among other human beings, which is a seed for unity. What about us Muslims? Let's think about ourselves. What do we have in common? We have religion in common. We have language in common. We have virtues in common. We have history in common. And we have future and fate in common. Muslims share their religion, history, virtues, language, and future and fate. Think about this. This reminds us of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, in which he's talking about the one body. If this body suffers from one certain problem, the whole body is going to be corrupted. This is why we share future and fate. Because if one nation, one Muslim nation goes down, the rest of the Muslim world is going to be affected. Let's learn from the previous nations. Since we are the complete and perfect nation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ever created, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. So, in our book, in our teachings, we have stories of the previous nations that tells us the core fact of why unity matters. For each nation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent somebody to guide them. We call them prophets, right? Or messengers, if they were given a book and a new message. But the task of these people was to guide these people from whatever misguidance they're living under. And the nation of the Israelites was not an exception to this rule. The nation of the Israelites went into Egypt back during the time of Yusuf alayhi salam, when he moved his family, his 11 siblings, father and mother, and anybody who descended from Ishaq alayhi salam, into Egypt, when he became the vizier, the second man after the king. There he was buried, and the Israelites became a huge nation, around 1,100, even more, 100,000 or even more. However, what happened to these people? They were mistreated. They were enslaved. They were treated with tyranny by the Pharaoh, the new dynasty, the new ruling dynasty of Egypt. Musa alayhi salam was sent to them with the task of preaching to Musa and preaching for the Israelites. Musa alayhi salam was a tool of mercy by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just for the Israelites to get them out of the misery they're in, but also for Fir'aun in order for him to follow the straight and right path. However, Fir'aun refused, the Egyptians refused. And what happened was the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa to leave Egypt. He told him, take your people and just go to Sinai. And from there, go your way to Palestine. Fir'aun followed his people. He wanted to still continue their persecution. And at that point, they were united. And what happened is, as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Musa, use your staff in order to part the Gulf of Sinai. And the Gulf of Sinai was parted into 12 parts in order for each of the 12 tribes to go through this part. And then they reached the next shore, the shore of Sinai. And there comes the first division ever. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa, go and ascend the mountain of Tur, and there I have an important thing I'm going to give you, an identity for your people. So Musa alayhi salam, following the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he ascended to the mountain of Tur. And there he started talking with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meanwhile, what did his people do? His people started worshipping a cow made of the treasures they took from Fir'aun. They constructed an idol and they said that's God. Logically. And now the people of Musa were divided in the first division. Some people say, no, that's not your God. The God of Musa alayhi salam, he's talking to him on Mount Tur. And the other part said, no, this is the God of Musa and he forgot. He forgot him here. And then Musa came back and saw this. What happened? You guys are divided. Don't you remember the blessing of unity? The blessing of unity that saved us from the tyranny of Fir'aun. However, Musa alayhi salam told them the task that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa. Go to Palestine. Go and find the pagans who are worshipping idols there, like you were. Go there and fight those guys who are killing your fellow brothers, your fellow Abrahamic brothers. And the Abrahamic includes Arabs as well, and other nations. So go and fight those people who are being tyrants and persecuting others and oppressing others. What did they say to me? They said, oh Musa, they're alive. And you. They're going to beat us. You're not going. Again, another division. They divided once again. Some said, no, we're going to go. Some said, no, we're not going. What was the result of this? They got lost in Sinai for 40 years. For 40 years, they were lost in Sinai. If they had went, they could have won, and they could have been prosperous. But they divided. Not until Musa alayhi salam died and Yusha ibn Nun ascended into leadership of the Israelites, they were able to fight against the Canaanites and take over just parts of Palestine. And at that time, what did they do? They fought. They became divided again. They were fighting because they wanted to rule over this new land. They said, who's going to be the king among us? And they were fighting each other just for silly reasons. So they went and turned to Samuel, their prophet, and they said, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to choose a king for us in order to unite us again. And he said, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose Talut. His Hebrew name is Shaul. And then they looked at him and said, who's this man? Why this man? Why don't you choose somebody of great genealogy? Why don't you choose somebody who's rich? There are people who are stronger than him, richer than him, better genealogy than him. Again, they were divided. Some people said, okay, we're going to follow Shaul. Some people said, no, we're not going to follow this guy. What did this give them again? Another danger, another risk. Now, there is a leader of the Canaanites by the name of Jalut. He wants to crush these guys. So Talut, he gathered an army and he said, let's go and fight. Another division. Some said, no, we're not going to fight. And some said, yes, we are. They said, well, Jalut is a giant guy and they have a strong army and you're just few people. You're going to lose. And then again, when they were going to fight Jalut, they were tasked. They were tested. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, tell your people not to drink from this river. Whoever drinks, he does not belong to you. What happened? Again, division. Some of these guys drank from the river. Talut was left with just few people to fight Jalut. And he said, whoever kills Jalut, I will let him marry my daughter, and I will give him my kingdom. He will become the king after me. And the person who was able to kill Jalut is Dawood alayhi salam. Dawood killed Jalut, and after the death of Talut, Dawood became the king. And when he became the king, he had an iron fist with justice, and he was able to unite all of the Israelites under one country. He named it the United Hebrew Kingdom. And he was able to unite them. And they lived peacefully, with prosperity, even during Sulaiman alayhi salam. We all know what happened during Sulaiman alayhi salam. Since his birth, in order to get just the throne of the Queen of Sheba. They were living like kings. They had everything in the world. But again, when Sulaiman alayhi salam died, 10 tribes of the 12 tribes said, no, we're not going to choose the son of Sulaiman to be the king. And 2 tribes, which were Yehuda and Binyamin, said, no, we're going to choose the son of Sulaiman to rule us. And they got divided into north and south. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom remained only 250 years. Because they were divided. They were fighting each other in a huge civil war for centuries. Just they're trying to see who was going to be the king. who's going to rule them. For centuries in civil war, they were not even able to defend themselves. They were not able to come up with a strong economy. It was known in history that this northern empire, this northern kingdom, it was really weak economically, and it was not an advanced, unlike the south, which was a little bit more advanced. Because they were busy fighting each other, divided. And what happened? The Assyrian emperor, Sabjan II, he was able to come and crush their kingdoms. Their kingdom. It ceased to exist. And he exiled. And then just 100 years after that, again, the people of the south, they got divided. What happened? The king of Babylon, he came over and he crushed their kingdom completely. Not just this, but he also crushed their temple, destroyed it, and he exiled them. And now what happened to the Israelites? They got exiled out of their lands. Most of them, they fused with the Arabs and the Persians, that they became part of the Arabs and Persians. They only speak Arabic and Persian. Now they're called Mizrahi Jews, which means Eastern Jews. And then those guys, they were able to spread their religion throughout Europe, and many of the Slavs and Germanics and Turkics were converted to Judaism. And those who are converts, they're not descendants of Ishaq, they're not Israelites, who are converts, they're called Ashkenazi Jews. And finally, there were also converts in the Roman Empire who lived in Italy and Spain. They were called Sephardi Jews. They were divided for centuries. In each of those countries that they lived in, they were persecuted. They did a lot of revolutions, history says, but they were crushed. They were enslaved for many years. Even till this day, by the way, they are still divided. Yes, they do claim that they have their own country, but they're still divided. The Ashkenazi Jews, for instance, they're mistreating the Mizrahi Jews. In fact, just last week, we hear the news there are protests in there because these Ashkenazi Jews are mistreating the Ethiopian Jews population. They're still divided till this day, and it's not going to lead them anywhere. And we should learn from this as Muslims. We should learn that division is not going to lead us nothing but for destruction. Do you know why are they divided? Because earlier we said the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that I'm 100% sure all of their prophets told them. The Prophet ﷺ said, مثل المؤمنين في توادهم وتراحمهم وتعاطفهم كمثل الجسد الواحد إذا اشتكى منه عضو تداعى له سائر الأعضاء بالحمى والسقم. They forgot the rule that the Prophet ﷺ said, believers are just like, with their mercy, with their love, they're just like one body. This body, if just one part of it felt ill or was hurt, the whole body is going to fall into disease and illness. They forgot this rule. They were divided. They lived miserably for years, even till this day. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم. Your brothers and sisters, while Musa alayhi salam was telling the Israelites, go and fight in Palestine in order to liberate it, and they said, no, we're not. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam told these people, go and fight in Badr, because those people took your rights. They took your money, they took your stuff, and they're selling it in Bilad al-Sham. Go and fight for your rights. What did they say? Labbayka Rasulullah. They said, Labbayka Rasulullah. Nobody refused. Nobody was scared. Yeah, by the way, the people of Quraysh, there were a lot. They had a huge army. The Battle of Badr, you can go and read about it. They had a huge army. And the Muslims were just few people with like basic weapons. Yet they won. They won the battle. Because they said, Labbayka Rasulullah. They did not become cowards. They were united. They did not divide. The first thing the Prophet ﷺ did when he reached Medina, he built a masjid. This masjid was their community center. What is that? Community center. Now they have a place to gather, to unite them. On any occasion, on any event, they have just one place to be united at. This is the first thing the Prophet ﷺ did in Medina. And the second step, what he did, after building the masjid, after building the community center, he told the muhajirin, each one of the muhajirin, who are the immigrants from Mecca, he told them, be brothers with one of the Ansar, who are the people of Medina. So he would say, for instance, Abdullah, who is a muhajir, you are the brother, just like blood related to this man from Al-Ansar, for instance, whatever his name could be, another Abdullah. Now they're brothers, just like blood related brothers. And now they became united. What did this lead? The Prophet ﷺ was able to unite the whole Arabian Peninsula. And what did this lead to? The whole Arabian Peninsula was united. The benefit was not only just for the Muslims. The benefit reflected to other nations, to humanity. Fellow Muslim Arabs were able to liberate other Arabs in the Persian Empire and the Greek Roman Empire, known as Byzantine Empire. Fellow Muslim Persians were able to liberate their Persian brothers. And by the way, those who are liberated, remember, they're not Muslim. They weren't liberating them from the dictatorship of the Sassanid Empire. Greeks and Romans who became Muslim liberated the Greeks and Romans from the dictatorship of the Byzantine Empire. And they welcomed the Jews. They welcomed the Christians, and they said, you're free to worship whatever you want, unlike the Byzantine Empire was killing anybody who's not Christian. And unlike the Persian Empire, who was fighting anybody who was not Majusi or Zoroastrian. And this created the greatest civilization to ever exist in history. This civilization, it established the first universities, the first hospitals. It had great scientists, great minds, great scholars. Just because they were united. But now, where is this civilization? Why can't we find it? Because they fell into the problem that many other nations fell into, division. During the medieval times, in Al-Andalus, you know Al-Andalus, nowadays Iberian Peninsula, Spain and Portugal, they divided into 22 countries known as Muluk al-Tawal. They were fighting each other. Sometimes they were even allying with the enemies of the Muslims against the Muslims, just to maintain their throne and maintain their power and money. And in the Abbasid Empire, the Dawla al-Abbasiyya, it got divided into many states. And there were states fighting for the Khilafah, for who was going to be the Khalifa. And what did this lead to? The Crusades. They came over, they invaded Palestine. We were weak. We were not able to defend ourselves. Now they're occupied from science, from advancement, from defending ourselves. We're not united anymore. We're fighting each other. And then what happened after that? We lost Spain forever. And we were not the only ones who were affected again. Jews and Christians were killed, were massacred in Spain by the Germanic Catholics who occupied the land. And the only people who were able to get them and host them were the Ottomans, who were united, Ottoman Muslims. Brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, محمد رسول الله والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Prophet Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And those who are with him, they are firm against those who are non-believers, and they are mercy between themselves. If the firm against non-believers, الشدة على الكفار, was that the Prophet ﷺ, when he came to Mecca, he told the mushrikeen of Quraysh, the unbelievers of Quraysh, he told them, "Idhabu antum al-Khulaqa, go, you're free." If this firmness was that Salah al-Din, when he liberated Palestine, he told the Christians, "You're free to go if you want, and if you want to stay, you can stay. And you can worship whatever you want. And anybody who touches you is going to be punished." Churches were safe. And he told them, you can build churches. If this firmness was that Muslims kept the Jews and Christians to worship whatever they want, to live peacefully for centuries, not a single blood was dropped. If this was the firmness, then how should be the mercy between us? Think about it. Firmness, they should be harsh, they should fight, they should be aggressive. Their aggressive was literally telling other nations, you're free to go, you're free to do whatever you want. You're safe. This was their aggressiveness. Then how should be our mercy? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying we should be mercy between ourselves. And how should be this mercy? Let's leave our differences aside. Really. I mean, we're worrying about very basic stuff and we're fighting over it. Now people are thinking about going to Mars. And Muslims who had a scientist who flew with 2 wings for 12 seconds. For 12 seconds he flew in the air with just 2 wings, not a plane. 2 wings he constructed. Now they're behind. They're fighting for just silly reasons. Brothers and sisters, let us not let those silly and basic things interfere in our body. Because if this body fell ill, it's going to die. Thus, this means we're going to be history. We're going to be in the past. And we don't want that. And always think, if we are united, this is something that reflects on humanity. This means that humanity, inshallah, is going to be in peace. It's going to be 200 years into the future advanced. Always remember that we are one Muslim nation with one eternal message, which is the message of peace. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب. بالله ارتبطنا وبه آمنا فمنه عزنا وقوتنا والابتعاد عنه تعاون على الإثم فإن تعاوننا على الإثم اختلفنا وتمزقنا فانتهينا. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي بالحق وإنه لا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تبارك ربنا وتعاليت. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي فيها معادنا واجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من زوال نعمتك وتحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك. اللهم مصرف القلوب صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم رب جبرائيل وميكائيل وإسرافيل فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. اللهم اهدنا لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. اللهم أصلح ذات بين المسلمين. اللهم اجمع كلمتهم. اللهم لا تفرقهم. اللهم اجمع كلمتهم ولا تفرقهم. اللهم انصر إخواننا في كل مكان. اللهم انصر إخواننا المسلمين المضطهدين في كل مكان في فلسطين وفي العراق وفي سوريا وفي اليمن وفي ليبيا وفي بورما وفي كل مكان يا أرحم الراحمين. ارفع من شأنهم وأعزهم وأبعد عنهم العدو والضرر يا أرحم الراحمين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه يغفر لكم. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واستغفروه يغفر لكم وأقيموا الصلاة.